If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by portrait photography, or just at a loss of what to focus on to take you to that next level, then come hang with me. I help guide portrait photographers just like you to stay clear and sharp in camera and with your goals. I'm your host, photographer, educator, and weirdly positive mama of four, Emily Supio. And this is the Stay Focused podcast. Photography advice to help you stay focused. Well, hey everyone, it's Emily Supio, and thank you so much for pressing play on today's episode of the Stay Focused podcast. Let's start today's episode by taking just a few seconds to daydream just a little bit. I want you to think really big, like no limits. If your photography dreams were a reality, what would they look like? Your really big goals and dreams. Would you be traveling all over the United States? Would you be making $15,000 a session? Would you be shooting destination weddings over in Italy? What are your big dreams for yourself? And maybe it's not any of those things, because all of our dreams are different and unique, and that's what makes photography so awesome, right? But what if you could really make those a reality? Well, I tell all of my students, I tell most photographers that are newer that I meet, that it all starts in the beginning. All of those big goals start by really understanding your camera, by learning how to work the camera. And once you do that, that's half the battle. Well, on today's episode of the Stay Focused podcast, I am talking with Kelley Williams, and Kelley has done all of those things that I mentioned when we were talking about big dreams. She has made $15,000 a session. She travels to Italy shooting weddings. She travels the United States shooting, but it didn't always start that way for her. And on today's episode, she's going to walk you through some very specific things she did in the beginning to build up her big dreams so she could make all of that happen. And hopefully it inspires you to do some of those things too. Before we bring Kelley out on the show, I did want to give you the opportunity to join me if you are a beginner and new to your photography journey. I have a free 1-hour online photography class, the 4-step framework to confidently shooting gorgeous portraits. And I would love you to be there if you are new to your camera and new to photography. You can register by going to cozyclicks.com/framework. This direct link will be in the show notes or in the description of any podcast platform you are listening from. All right, everyone, I have Kelley Williams with us on the show today. Hey, Kelley, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Now, Kelley, I know that a lot of people listening might not know who you are. So can you give us the quick rundown of who you are and what you do and who you help?
Sure. I'm a wedding photographer and educator based out of California. I like to say I do East Coast, West Coast. I'm from the East Coast, live on the West Coast now. So I go back and forth a lot. And I do destination weddings, and I'm an educator and mentor to up-and-coming photographers as well.
So you do it all. You just jet setter, travel all over, teach people. I love it.
I try.
But hey, Kelley, I'd like to be really honest with people, especially people that are just getting into photography. Maybe they're just, just buying their first camera. Maybe they're just starting their first business. A lot of times they hear about photographers like you and they think, I want to do what she's doing. I want to, be a destination wedding photographer and teach people and be all over the place. But it wasn't instant for you, right? Like, I think a lot of people start feeling a little down on themselves when all of this doesn't happen instantly for them. So I'd like to kind of just rewind time a little bit for you. And I want you to think about the very first camera you got your hands on, and like, what did that look like? Why did you even want to learn photography in the first place? And how long ago was that?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Definitely a long time ago. Well, my grandfather was a wedding photographer. So like photography and cameras was never foreign to me. And so, like, honestly, the very first camera I picked up, I had to be like a toddler, I'm sure, at some point. Like, I just grew up with a lot of cameras. And like, the very first camera I had was like my grandfather's old, like 35 film camera. And but I feel like I started my business or started taking photography seriously probably in like 2016. I had just moved to California, and I had left my corporate job and I was doing photography more so just for fun. And it was my husband that was like, what if you just started charging people for photography? Which, like I said, my grandfather was a wedding photographer, so it wasn't foreign, but I just did not see myself doing that. Especially since photography was such a creative outlet for me. But yeah, I tried it. I charged my first client, I think like $100 for an hour. And I just kind of took off from there. I had my first wedding like 4 months after that. The maid of honor from that wedding booked me for her wedding, and it just like snowballed. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely not instant for you. Like so do you tell people how old you are? Like you're what, like 20 something?
No, I'm
Maybe?
31.
So 31 years in the making, right? Some people get caught off guard when I ask how old they are, but you said it was a toddler, right? You were a toddler when you first, really picked up the camera. So it's not like you just one day said, I'm going to start making money with photography. It's been forever. It's just been in your life. That's in some point, I'm sure at a toddler, you weren't like,
Right.
oh, let me take classes and let me be a business. But I just like people to realize that it's not something, it's not, looking on social media and these photographers that you see online. It's a process, and it's something, it's a journey that they've gone on. So Kelley, you said you're from, okay, I'm asking you just all the questions. I'm just going to be blunt and straightforward, starting with the age one, but you said you said how much you charged for your first session, $100. So how much are you charging now? Like, how much do you get for a wedding?
Yeah, I specialize in like full weekend. So for full weekend coverage, it's about $10,000 to $15,000 now. Yeah.
That is amazing. Isn't that cool, you guys? Thinking like, okay, maybe you're just tinkering around with the camera right now, or maybe you're doing those, $50, $100 sessions. Maybe not even that. Maybe you're charging $5. I don't know. But just like Kelley, like now she's like 15,000, and you're traveling too, right? You're doing some destinations.
Yes, absolutely. I travel, like I said, I travel to the East Coast a bunch, like New York, Washington, D.C. area. And I'm just starting to branch off more into like the Italy market. So going to Italy at least once a year.
That is so cool. That's so exciting. Like it blows my mind, the opportunities that can come your way as a photographer. Like once you really understand, the camera and how to take a good picture, like it really, $15,000 a session and traveling all over the world. That's so cool. Again, though, I want to tell you guys, it doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. And I'm sure you had some things not always go your way, right? I'm sure that you've made mistakes along the way.
Of course.
Or maybe you are perfect. I don't know. Can you share that with us? Can you share maybe some of the bigger mistakes that you made along your photography journey?
Sure. I mean, I've had like contract mistakes where like I didn't have enough details in my contract, or where someone didn't pay me. I really struggled with like setting good boundaries in my business early on. So it was just like working all day, every day, having no life. And then my like personal relationships suffered from that because I'm just like all about my business. So yeah, it's just like a balancing act, of just trying to figure out how to grow my business, but still be a full human being in person, which is what I like to help newer photographers learn early on. It's not about, just like working every day all night, but you really want to build a business that supports the life you want to live, right? So like it's hard work, of course, but you should still live a full, beautiful life. Like that's why I think we are, want to be entrepreneurs and have our own businesses. It's like we want our lives to be better, not worse.
Exactly. And I think that's a great point, because we could get caught up in just, taking every client that comes our way or shooting any kind of style that happens and just driving ourselves to the point that we don't like photography anymore,
Exactly.
And then that is totally the opposite of what our intention is, because as photographers, and I'm guessing, Kelley, you and all of you that are listening right now, you're doing photography because you have fun with it. Like it makes you happy, it brings you joy. And the minute that it doesn't, and it feels stressful, and it, brings you down and brings all that self-doubt to you, it becomes not fun anymore. And it's not the reason that you started photography in the first place. So I love, Kelley, that you teach just that life balance and creating a business based on this hobby that can be so much more, it can bring us so much joy. So that's really cool. I like that. Now, I know, Kelley, you said that in the beginning for you did a lot of styled shoots. You went to a lot of styled shoots, or maybe you created them. Can you explain, especially to those people who are newer, like what is that? How do you get into that? And how does that help you as a photographer?
Yeah, so I like to tell people a styled shoot is essentially like, think of it like a commercial or advertisement that you put on for your business. So it looks like the work that you want to get. So for example, where I live, there's lots of barns. So there's lots of barn wedding venues, which are awesome. But there's also lots of wineries. So if I wanted to get into shooting at more winery weddings, I would set up a shoot that looks just like a real wedding, with like models and maybe a table setup, maybe a ceremony setup. And I would photograph that. So it would boost my portfolio so that I can appeal to those clients that are getting married at a winery, for example. So it just provides you with those portfolio images, and it connects you with vendors. It lets you practice and experiment. There's lots of great things I can say about styled shoots, which I feel like are really beneficial to your business, if you use them correctly. And I feel like I did a lot when I first started, and it really set me up in my business because it connected me with so many amazing vendors locally in my area. And it's experienced shooting at a lot of venues. So when clients would reach out, I knew their venue, I knew some of the vendors they were working with. So it really kind of helped me out in that way.
I like that, because then, yeah, maybe you haven't shot a wedding at a certain venue, but you were at a styled shoot at that venue. So it gives you that comfort level that you wouldn't have had before. How did you find these styled shoots?
So I put them on myself. The very first one I put together was really small. I just kind of connected with a florist and kind of a local model, and we like shot at the beach or something, just for me to have more content, especially when I was just building my portfolio. So I just would start. So as my portfolio grew from even those little shoots and just other client work, I was able to reach out just to more vendors who are a bit more established, to set up a shoot. So I would create them, design them myself. And then like once I had a better, like just a reputation, I just didn't have a reputation when I first started, right? It's like no one knows who you are. So once I had a reputation, then I could work with planners. They could kind of help out designing things, planning things. And then venues trusted me to shoot there as well. So yeah, I just started small with smaller shoots and just kind of grew from there.
You are amazing, Kelley. I hope that gives you some inspiration. And you know what I'm thinking, because I'm not a wedding photographer, but in the beginning I did styled shoots, or I would go to styled shoots for weddings. And I realized that wasn't my thing. Like that wasn't really helping me at all, because where am I'm putting these on my site, but I don't really shoot weddings, so it didn't make sense to me. And eventually I learned that, and I started going to styled shoots because I shoot a lot of families and kids. So I would go to styled shoots that were like around families and kids, and they were styled really beautiful. And it was the look I wanted to show clients, like, you know what, this is how, these are some great outfit ideas. And it showed the work that I could produce. But I love that you did it yourself. So like you guys, like all of you, and I know a lot of my students come to me and they say, you know what, I'm learning the camera, but I can't find clients, or I don't have anything to really show on social media. Like make it happen yourself. Ask maybe a niece or a nephew or a neighbor or some of your kids' friends, someone besides your kids that you can shoot, and if you don't have a lot of money, you could go to Goodwill and pick out the clothes that, match the kind of portfolio you want to have. Choose a fun location, like make it happen for yourself. And it doesn't have to be like a huge wedding venue. Like, you did some awesome things, Kelley, but I want to bring it down for those people that might be like, whoa, this is so much. I can't even imagine doing it. I'm just trying to think in the most simplest terms you can, like get a neighbor, go to Goodwill, find a cool location, maybe that, doesn't charge a permit fee, and make something happen, make something happen for yourself, create that, and invite a couple photographer friends along the way. So like what a great idea. You are just all kinds of amazing, Kelley.
Thank you.
Like, okay, so how do you even go about doing that? Like, I know you're big about goal setting. So you've got all these things that are going on in your life, shooting coast to coast, shooting in Italy, creating styled shoots, meeting with other photographers. How do you set those goals for yourself? Like, how do you make that happen?
Yeah, so I kind of start the year. I know a lot of people kind of go into the new year with goals, but kind of how I do it is I take January to just kind of refocus, settle in. So I typically don't even make my goals until the end of January, early February. I like to reflect on how the year went, like not just like the money terms of how much I made, how many sessions I did, but also just how did the year feel? Did I feel overwhelmed at certain points? Was I still present in my life? So I just take that time to refocus that in January. And then I just write down all of my big goals for the year in terms of everything I want to accomplish that year, whether it's business goals, personal goals, and I just write them all down. Then I divide the year into quarters and I split up to focus on like, okay, this set of goals I can focus on in this quarter. This set of goals I'll focus on in this quarter. And I break the quarters into months and then have activities for each month that helps me reach that goal. I hope I explained that well.
Yeah. So you're just chunking it up so it's not so overwhelming. Because if you just make a list of goals, it's kind of like, well, where do I even start? So just kind of chunking them down quarter to quarter, month to month, and then you just make it happen. Right?
Exactly. And I think putting it by quarter, it helps you not get overwhelmed. You're able to focus on it instead of just being like, I have to focus on 20 different things. It's like, you just have to focus on these few things for 3 months. And also it just helps keep me focused on them, because then every goal I have for the month is, I know it's working towards the bigger goal I have for the quarter, which is working towards the bigger goal I have for the year.
I like it. I like it a lot. I also like that you don't start right away January 1st, because I think that sets people up for failure right from the get-go when they do that sometimes.
It's so overwhelming. And I feel like we need a come down from all the holidays too.
Yeah.
So I feel like we need that time to just relax, take it in, kind of reset for the year.
Yeah. Amazing. You're all kinds of amazing, Kelley. And you know what else is amazing about Kelley? She is also part of the creative collaboration, which I am part of too. That's happening at the end of this month. So I don't know when you guys are listening. I'm not sure exactly when this is airing and you're hearing it right now, but at the end of this month, I think it's February 27th, the creative collaboration is going to go live. It happens once a year. Fantastic photographers and educators just like Kelley are part of it. Kelley, what is your contribution to the creative collaboration this year?
Yes, I have the Ultimate Marketing Guide, which is a PDF full of just tons of juicy goodness of marketing materials. And you don't have to just be a wedding photographer. I mean, it is kind of focused around that, but the strategies I give for marketing your business is just for anyone, honestly, any creative entrepreneur.
So perfect if one of your goals in the quarter is to get going with a photography business, right?
Yes, exactly.
I love that. And you guys, you will find the link to the creative collaboration. If it's available now when you're listening, you'll find that in the show notes. You'll also find it any of the places where you listen to podcasts. So if you're on iTunes right now, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, if you go to the description, all of those links will be there for you to check that out. Like I said, it might not be up yet, but keep your eyes and ears open because it's definitely something you guys are going to want to check out, especially if you are newer to photography or wanting to start a business soon. Now, Kelley, if there are people out there that are like, you know what, I don't want to wait until the creative collaboration. I want to learn more about you now. I want to see your work. I want to see all these beautiful destinations you're going. Where can people find you?
Yes, please check me out on my website, which is Kelley W Photos. My Kelley is Kelley, or Instagram, which is Kelley W Photos.
Perfect. And you guys, I'm going to put the direct links to Kelley's website and Instagram also in the show notes and in the description wherever you're listening. So click on her Instagram, go say hello to her on there, leave her a DM, say you were listening, give her a wave. Right? Is that okay?
Absolutely. Please
All
come
right.
by.
All right. Because I really appreciate you. And I hope that everyone listening, I hope that you are inspired. I hope something kind of triggered in you today to get out there and make some movement just the same way that Kelley did. So thank you so much, Kelley, for being here. I appreciate you.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It was such a pleasure having Kelley on the show with us today. And I hope that she inspired you to get out there and reach your bigger photography goals and dreams. And maybe at this point, it's just figuring out how to learn manual mode or get your pictures in clear focus every time. Maybe for you, it's just figuring out your niche or the style that you really like, or maybe you're ready to take that jump into becoming a full-time business. Whatever your goal, I hope that you have that inspiration today to get out there and start the process of making that happen. Now, remember, Kelley is part of the creative collaboration, as well as myself and some of the wonderful photographers and educators you heard last week on the podcast, and you will be hearing this whole month. At the end of February, the creative collaboration goes live. This happens once a year with so many wonderfully talented photographers that want to help you with more photography education. If you're listening already at the end of the month, you can check the show notes and click to find out more information. But if not, make sure you're listening all month long to our special guests that will be on the Stay Focused podcast. Make sure to subscribe over on iTunes so that you don't miss a single episode, because let me tell you, we've got some good ones just packing this month up. All right, you guys, until next time, here's to staying in focus, in camera, and with your goals. I'll see you next week.